If I ain't told you nothing else, I want to tell you this. When it comes to discipline, if you don't lack it, you're probably noticing most people lack it. It's not the triggers that's the problem. Triggers are our helpers. The issue is we get so caught up in our triggers or in the cycle of being triggered that many, if not most of us, don't have the opportunity or don't take the opportunity to observe ourselves or know how to observe ourselves when we're being triggered, because we just so used to absorbing all the energy. But the triggers are not the problem. They to help us. They to help us to make us recognize. They to recognize us. They to identify us. The triggers are the identifiers, the recognizers, to help us identify with what we need to address so that we're not triggered in the first place. It's how we handle the situation. It's how we handle the situation once we've been triggered that determines the outcome. That determines how it is outcome. So it's good to be centered in yourself and not stuck on yourself. It ain't the same. I'm gonna say it again. So it's good to be centered in yourself and not stuck on yourself. Because if I catch you stuck on yourself, I could trigger you easier than you think. Once you learn yourself, you learn your triggers. But in order to learn yourself, you gotta learn your triggers. You gotta know what make you tick. And when you learn your triggers, you do learn yourself. And when you learn yourself, you can learn how to harness and do something better with that energy than what you did or what we do when we are triggered. Among the many triggers I have had inwardly, had a lot to do with where I was from. For me, personally, where I was from was more of a problem for me than the places where I was raised, because I wasn't raised where I'm from or where I was born. It wasn't until I moved away again after returning to where I was born and being there for the time that I was there to go through the cycles and experiences that I needed, that I realized once moving back away that I had to accept where I was from was my biggest trigger of all. See, where you from is where all the attachments, is where all your attachments are. Where you from is where all your pros and cons are. Where you from is everything that consists of your makeup is made up of. We all got different things when it consists of where we from. People, places, and the different things that we may or may not have been affiliated with. But one of my final triggers was, out of the many, was where I was from. And I didn't see that till I moved back away. And in moving back away, I went to realize how much I was seeing it when I was there. I see college kids come home. I see sports players come home and get wrapped up, never end up going back to school. Never end up going back to their sports program or whatever, you know. Florida, they say you come on vacation and you end up incarcerated. If any of y'all heard that before about Florida, it has a lot of truth to it. But yeah, where I was from was my biggest trigger. And it had the potential. It took for me to recognize that it had the potential of being more detrimental to me than beneficial for me. I don't know who I may be talking to, but somebody gonna need to hear this about where they from. And I say that to say change always start with the person in the mirror. So change had to start with me. And when it's time to choose, and when it's time for you to choose you, or when you decide to choose you, whoever I'm talking to, that's what you're gonna have to do. And know that ain't no time to second guess yourself. Not in this stage of the game of life, because in what we turn the game of life, it ain't no game. Somebody didn't wake up today. Somebody lost a loved one. Somebody lost a wife or a husband. Somebody may have lost a child. You know, for this, that, and the other. I say that to say I can't look back on nothing that has the potential of pulling me back to what I worked so hard to make me a better person by cleaning myself up and getting away from the things that would either take me off the street or have me in the graveyard. Somebody gonna need to hear this. If it's coming out of me, somebody need to hear this. Don't look back on nothing that's gonna pull you back on the progress that you're making, that you have been making. When it comes to mindsets, emotions, and actions that can find you or have you in a place where you know you don't want to be, you're gonna have to have your mind made up when it presents itself to you. Put you first. I had to put me first. You're gonna have to put you first. And only the selfish people in your life gonna take offense to that. Only the selfish people in your life, I'm gonna say it again, gonna take offense to that. So pay attention. It's one of the reasons why I speak the way I do, because I have to undo that, if only energetically. I'm passionate about the things that I'm saying because most of us, I'm not the only one, most of us was born from some toxic shit that we would never care to discuss with nobody. But Sawu, I'm butt naked in my truth. See, because I know that's the bondage. I'm gonna say it again. Most of us come from some toxic shit that we would never care to discuss with no one. And that's the bondage. How I know? Because it had me in bondage. Saving people's face. That was really fucked up people. Demonic ass people. When the truth be, when we able to look at the spirit behind the actions, when we're able to look at the energy behind the actions, we see a whole other thing that we see in the embodiment of the person that we're looking at. It tell you a whole nother story. We just talked about intuition a few days ago. If you ain't catch the video, you might want to go. Y'all better plug in, man. You ain't gonna get these Jews nowhere else. I bet you that. This ain't about popularity. This ain't about popularity at all. That's the bondage. A lot of us come from toxic shit we'll never care to discuss, and that's the bondage. So that means we have to pretend to be something else until people really get to know us, and then they see something else. If you don't listen, you're gonna miss it. See, when you play all it is to play in the lows, in the dark, to find a light, then all you have to do is imagine what a life in the light is like, because you already been there, and we don't want to go back down there by going there. It's all a metaphor, but the mind works, a lot of mind works, so you can put pictures to the words to show you things, because your life experience will be reflected through the things that you're hearing if you listen and don't reject what you're hearing. Yeah, we all come from some toxic ass shit. When you're around toxic people long enough, I'm gonna say it again. We all come from some toxic shit. Since birth, I don't find myself in or around toxic situations. Before I was able to do things about it, before I was able to express myself about it. See, these are things that we witnessed since birth, but how many of us remember our story? How many of us paid attention to our story to remember anything? Let me take y'all back through time, through the things that I say. See? Found myself in a lot of toxic situations too. In some cases, I became the situation, just like some of y'all. Just like some of y'all, I became the situation too. See, those who gonna get this is who share souls similar to mine. Tribe. That's who it is for. And like I said, when you're around toxic shit long enough, you pick up some of that toxic shit too. You pick up some of them behaviors too. You pick up some of them characteristics too. You pick up some of that speech too. If y'all notice, I only use derogatory language or cuss words when I'm really trying to emphasize things. Other than that, y'all know Sawu. Sawu don't be, yeah. I'm upgrading my character too. I'm upgrading my language too. I'm from the streets too. But I ain't stay there. Somebody gonna come across this message that's in that in between getting their life out about the streets and trying to live righteous. So I hope I say something that speak to you today. If you radiate in love, it needs no explanation. And if you do it in love, remember where you do what you're doing it for. Remember where you're doing it from. If you say it in love, remember where you're saying it from. If you feel it in love, remember where you're feeling it from. You hear me? Don't let nobody distractions become yours. Because if you're not in full contact with yourself, you may find yourself in the energy of somebody else that ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm glad we growing over here. I'm glad I get an opportunity to grow with you. I'm glad I have an opportunity to mind my business and meet other people who minding their business from the inside. Yeah, I really do. Those who have eyes, and I'm pointing at my ear, those who have eyes to see will see. And those who have ears to hear will hear. And those in between probably will be triggered. observe and don't absorb. You can't sponge everything you hear. You can't believe everything you read. You hear me? One question before I go. If everybody chosen, or more, it's more of a statement. If everybody chosen, we're gonna need to know about who. And when people go to Zen, they're a child of God, make sure you ask them which one. Stillness and abundance, love and life, health and wholeness. 3 times, man. Keep your cup full. Self-care is health-care. I love y'all, family. Salute to God. Thanks for the likes, unlikes, subscribes, unsubscribes, comments, questions, purchases, so forth and so on, man. I appreciate the appreciation. Fuck with me.